Alrighty, so actually before we start creating our routes, we actually need to create our migrations, which will be used to create, modify, and delete our database tables and columns. So yeah, let's get started. So right over here, you can see that we have a default one that comes with our project. So we can use this for reference just to see, how we could get this set up with some of our, well, let's see, with this, for example, it shows the async migration protocol with the functions that come with it, which is one for prepare, which will create our table, and then revert, which will undo it and delete. And I have on the right side right here, I have our properties for our user model so that we could um, have that as a reference. So let's start with migrations. We can create a new file. It's going to be a Swift file, and we'll call this one CreateUsers because we need one for our creating our users model and our WebAuthn credential. So from there, we import Fluent and we'll do struct create users, and we'll conform this to async migration. Okay, and then once you open that up, it should ask to add a protocol. It'll add our prepare, but let's add a revert too. Okay, and then from there, we will try await database dot schema for our users table. Okay, and then we will want this our table to be uh to have our ID as well to identify itself. We then next we'll add our properties, so we'll do that with our field. So first thing we need is our uh, username, and then for our username it will be a type of string, and then we'll also make this a required field. And then next we will need our well, it's not, you don't have to add this, but this I add this so that later on when a user does create a traditional login without WebAuthn credential, they can add their own password. So we'll do password hash, okay, and make this a string, and then we don't have to make it required. Okay, and then next our date stamp. So let's do a field, call this one created at, make this date time, and this one is required as well. Okay, and then lastly, we want to declare our field key for our username to be unique so that it doesn't have any duplicates. And then next, we just create it. All right, and then lastly, we do one when we want to undo our database or delete it. So do database dot schema for users. Oops, users, and then delete. All right, and hopefully there's no errors. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so this is one for our for our users, our migration for our creating users, and then next we'll move on to the WebAuthn credential migration.